So we are on live?
Yeah.
So it's sharp 3 o'clock and we already have 100 plus participants joined in.
We have already crossed 120, Nirav.
Wait for 1 or 2 minutes and we'll start.
Yes, Paresh bhai. It's a rainy day in Mumbai today. Hope everyone from their offices or their homes are enjoying the weather.
I think you can start now.
Yes, sir.
We are around.
Yes, Satish sir. So before we begin, I will just drop some rules which we all are now aware of, but just for the sake of repetition, it's a request to all the attendees to kindly put your questions in the Q&A section. This will help all the panelists to refer to it and be able to reply, and if possible, right there and there in the same at the same link. If time permits, then we may probably have a couple of questions taken live over to the panelists. That way we shall let you know in due course. Any questions which will be repetitive shall be compiled and put forward. In case any of the questions remains unanswered due to paucity of time, we shall be asking the panelists to reply to those messages to your questions, and it shall be circulated as well. So welcome everyone. Good afternoon. A warm welcome to all the participants, attendees. I'm Nirav Thakkar, and on behalf of BCBA, I'm glad to invite all of you to this webinar on a very hot topic, which is faceless customs clearance. Dear friends, customs now has a new identity, and the identity is faceless. Now, this is what is the new age and the future. We are all very anxious to understand more about it, to understand the features, the compliances, and hence, without wasting any further time, I would right away introduce all the panelists, and then we can take the session forward. We have our leader, Mr. Karunakar Shetty, the president of BCBA, as the panelist, and along with Mr. Shetty, we have Mr. Kiran Rambia, the senior vice president of BCBA. Thank you very much, sir. Our vice presidents, Mr. Sanjeev Harale, Mr. Dushan Bulani, and Mr. Vinayak Apparaj are also present. Honorable Secretary, Mr. Paresh Thakkar, Treasurer, Mr. Hiren Ruparel, and Mr. Bandari ji, who is the co-secretary. I think he will probably join us in a short while. Mr. Tej Contractor for the technical help with the webinar. And our guest speakers for today, Sir Shri Vinayak Azad, Sir, Commissioner of Customs at the Sahar Air Cargo Complex. Thank you very much, sir, for attending, for coming for the webinar and at a very short notice, sir, really appreciate. And the eminent advocate, Shri Joshua Abinzer, we are all very much familiar with him. So I would now have Mr. Karunakar Shetty, sir, to kindly open the webinar session and with his kind words. Thank you.
Thank you, Nero. Good afternoon to all the participants. On behalf of our entire fraternity, a warm welcome to our chief guest, Shri Vinayak Azad ji, Commissioner of Customs, Air Cargo Customs. It is an honor to have you amongst us, sir. And I also thank you for accepting our invitation at the last minute. Thank you for joining us. A warm welcome to guest speaker, Shri Joshua Ebenzer. Mr. Ebenzer has been amongst us on several occasions in past, as well conducting such knowledge-driven training for our fraternity regularly. The webinar on today is the need of the hour, and it is needless to mention why. Accordingly, our association is conducting a webinar with regular intervals on various subjects. A new procedure has entered our life in faceless assessment, and whenever there is any new entrant, be it procedure or person, concerns are prone to arise. Firstly, at this forum, I must thank the Ministry of Finance, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, and the entire team for coming up with this great initiative. I still remember the initial days when the income tax was becoming faceless. People had several opinions on it. Some had wrong assumption in this initiative, but today the process has become so efficient, and the major beneficiary are none other than the taxpayer themselves. Likewise, my sincere appeal to the people would be not to have preconceived notion taking this great initiative, rather support this great initiative and see how we can efficient partner to it. I especially compliment facility notice number 450 of 2019 issued by the CBIC board, and would request each and everyone to have a go through glance on it. It is very well drafted notice where in a detailed procedure have been enumerated. We have already circulated the same to you all. I request our Honorary Secretary Sri Paresh Thakkar to arrange it to be sent from our office to the members again. At the cost of repetition, I reiterate, with the unveiling of faceless assessment, the role of custom broker have become diversified, and the core aspect of our profession is no longer only the documentation, but also compliances associated to it. The trust sense of extended arms of customs, as we are called, will take a central role, and having the correct documentation with necessary compliances will be our primary responsibility. With correct documentation, I mean to have the correct disclosure of the product, proper classification under the correct chapters. This will be the most important aspects, as without the knowledge of the consignment that you are dealing into, it will be like throwing the dart blindfolded. The others option will no longer be an umbrella for you. The system itself is pre-designed with a dedicated framework having appropriate selection criteria, and there cannot be resourceful person than us who can have a very good knowledge about these criteria. I will be very essential to have a sound knowledge about the valuation and tariff rules as well as. Entire faceless will be around these four categories like self-assessment, reassessment, first check, and then provisional assessment. I don't want to go into detail because our two speakers will highlight on this. So I'm leaving these points for them. As we say, acknowledge is valuable aspect a custom broker process. I feel it will be a high time where the same knowledge we can convert it into our expertise and extend it its benefit to our clients as well as the department. However, as Commissioner Sir is amongst us, we get to your kind notice, sir, about certain apprehension in the process which is brought to our notice by our fellow custom broker who are operational in Chennai and Bangalore. The aspects like timely assessment of the consignments, monitoring of pendency, reply of the queries are a concern in the implemented process. If these aspects are taken into consideration, sir, prior to its implementation, it can immensely benefit for its smooth rollout. Having said this, I am sure the participant will be eager to know more on faceless assessment, and I leave the forum open to the speaker. I request the speaker to take over the enlighten our members. Thank you all. Over to Nirev. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shetty sir, for the kind words, sir. I would now request Shri Kiran Rambia sir to kindly introduce our speaker, Shri Vinayak Azad, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Today, on this webinar of subject Faceless Assessment, we have with us young and dynamic Commissioner, Air Cargo Complex, Mr. Vinayak Azad, who is with the progressive approach and maintaining the dual time at ACC. Sir is a MA and batch 1994. And sir, education is MA with NDC. So let's have Mr. Vinayak Azad. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, and a very wet and warm welcome. It's been raining for some time now, so as somebody said, nice weather. And I'm a replacement speaker, so I was informed as the speakers before me said at just a little while back. So I'll try my best to give you a brief overview of the faceless assessment process. As you all know, this is a marked departure from the earlier procedure that has been followed. That is the assessment at the port of importation. And in that way, it's a revolutionary change, if you can put it that way. And since it's a new initiative, the CBIC has decided to do it in a phased manner. And also, meanwhile, taking the responses and the feedback from all the stakeholders so that whatever challenges or apprehension or issues that may arise are tackled at the right moment. And initially, I think this would be the right forum for me to inform that initially CBIC had planned to an all India rollout on the 1st of January 2021. But just yesterday, we had a web video conferencing with the member customs of all the stakeholders in the terms of the department involved in the faceless assessment, and it has been decided to roll it out even earlier. Perhaps we are looking at October of an all India rollout. So that's almost 2 months prior to the initial date. And I would assume that is because of the overall positive response that we have received from the first phase that was initiated in Bengaluru and Chennai, where chapter 84 and 85 were brought into the faceless assessment. Now, having said that, let's begin fundamentally asking why is there a need for faceless assessment when there is a procedure already in place. Why has the department decided to go for faceless, and that also in a very quick manner and on a pan-India level? Now the needs are twofold, and I'm sure all of you must be aware that the primary need is to bring the human interface between the importer, the CHA, and the departmental officer to bare minimum. That is A. And B, and more importantly, I would say, is to bring about uniformity in assessment. There are various practices even within the same city. City like Mumbai, which has 3 zones in customs, can have differing practices, and that creates a challenge for the importer as well as for the officers. So one of what we seek to achieve is uniformity in assessment across the country. And if we are able to do that, and I am very hopeful that we will, it's going to be a very major achievement, and it will go a long way in ease of doing business for all of us. So I would not like to go into the technicalities. You are all aware of the notifications that have been issued. The first phase has already been completed with Bangalore and Chennai. In the second phase, there are more chapters. In ACC, and for that matter in Mumbai, we are handling chapter 29 to begin with. in the Faceless. Now, Chapter 29 covers organic chemicals. So at Air Cargo Complex, we've been getting around 20 bills of entry per day in terms of the Faceless assessment. Nhava Sheva is probably getting 10 times more than that because of the larger volume. And who gets the bills of entry, how many, and from which port is decided by the systems. So in their wisdom, and some of the, also it's interesting to note that some of the Faceless assessment bill of entry which are coming to us in our FAG portal are from our own port. So it is not necessary that just because it is Faceless, it is coming from outside. Even bills of entry pertaining to Air Cargo Complex Mumbai are coming separately in the FAG group to us also. Now, the logic behind that, I would assume, would be to again ensure uniformity in assessment. It has thrown many challenges, and it is bound to throw many challenges when it is rolled out on a pan-India basis. So I would like to share some of the challenges that I have experienced in the relatively short time that the Faceless has been in operation in Mumbai. The first and foremost challenge, and I'm just restricting myself to the one which I am handling, that's Chapter 29, is that the officers at Aircar had not handled certain items which were necessarily coming to seaports because they were bulk trucks. So it was the first time appraising officer, for instance, was handling a particular import. So there were increased queries. Now, I have been personally monitoring queries. There have been a slight rise in them in the Faceless assessment group, but it is not to the extent that it would raise an alarm, but nonetheless, there were rise in queries. So I went into tried to go into the reasons. One of the reasons was the officer said that, sir, we have not ever come across this kind of import. It's the first time. So this is a challenge which is bound to come when we go on all India basis. People will be facing imports or exports later on where they have no prior experience. But it is a matter of time. And then yesterday with the member customs also we had discussed. In fact, the member customs had given an idea that the officers can physically go to a different port. Like my officers can go to Nhava Sheva, let's say, sit there for a day or two with the appraising officers of that port and try to understand the intricacies and the modalities involved in certain items. Now, that's a very good suggestion, and we would be operationalizing that. Also, it was felt that many a time, since it was not belonging to the port, and this was the experience in the phase one also, they were not given enough priority, and many of the bills of entry kept pending for various reasons. And at times, they had to be pulled out by the original port from where they were imported. There is a system in the Faceless assessment where the original port can pull out a particular bill of entry under exceptional circumstances. So that had to be resorted to in certain cases, thereby again highlighting the need that we need to be more proactive in monitoring the Faceless assessment process, because otherwise it'll become counterproductive. One of the main focus is to reduce the dwell time and increase the facilitation. And if the Faceless assessment bill of entries are getting sidelined, that defeats the very purpose. Now, apart from that, then there were some other issues like audit objections not being aware. Suppose there's an audit objection in another port that is not available to the Faceless assessment group. So that can create another challenge. This was again discussed yesterday with the honorable member, and we are working towards resolving that. Perhaps it could be all the audit objections from all the ports can be compiled. And one of the opinions was it can be put in form of LRM, but then the counter view was that this would lead to increased dwell time and further hindrances, and it will go against ease of doing business. So we are again, this is again one of the challenges. And at the cost of repetition, let me say, this is still a pilot project. We are still getting there. We are trying to understand how the system works, and we would require all your cooperation, particularly your members, in giving us real-time feedback, because this is of utmost importance that we keep learning on a day-to-day basis. And the system is not perfect. System is bound to throw challenges which are which could be of logistical nature, which could be very, very fundamental. It could be involving technology, could be anything. So it's very important that we have real-time feedback, and I would urge all the members of BCBA to be very proactive in informing the departmental officers of any challenges. And I would urge you to directly contact the commissioners if required, because commissioners have been asked to be the nodal officers, so to say, as far as faceless assessment is concerned, so that we don't waste any time in the process of learning and unlearning. In fact, unlearning is also a very important part of this, because for so many years we have been working on a certain system. In fact, I feel a sense of deja vu, because I was a young AC when the EDI system was first introduced. I was working in one of the import groups in New Custom House. And so I feel there were similar types of apprehension in moving from the manual system to the electronic data interchange. And as we all know, that's all history, and we've moved on very smoothly. And we'll move on very smoothly in this faceless assessment as well. For ease of doing business and for facilitation, we have set up the Turant Seva Kendra, basically to facilitate and for real-time resolving of any issues. We have a Turant Seva Kendra in all the custom houses which are involved in the faceless assessment. There would be issues, particularly when there are first checks and all. It may require some extra time. We are trying to minimize the directions from my side to my officer is to minimize the query. But however, sometimes the system itself is giving the queries. They cannot be avoided. But as far as the queries raised by the officers, they have been asked to minimize them and not to repeat the queries. And be very proactive in the sense that in case there is a real dispute where the importer is not agreeing, there is a set time limit of 15 days in which a speaking order has to be issued. And there is a separate procedure laid down in the notification itself for appeal, and thereafter there is a procedure for all eventualities, including amendments. So the system is in place. Now what we need to do is try to see how best we can use that system for our mutual advantage, and keeping in mind the fundamental reason for which the faceless assessment has been introduced in customs. Now, in customs, unlike income tax, it can never be totally faceless, particularly where the examination of the goods have to take place. So, also the total anonymity is also not possible because the bill of lading and certain other documents will have the name of the importer also. So in that sense, it's not a total anonymity. At least the officers will know the details of the importer. There is one school of thought which says that even the importer or the CHA should also know where it is going. Again, in the course of your discussion today, you can debate this particular topic, whether it would be convenient or feasible to have knowledge, even though it's going to another port, to have a knowledge where exactly it is going. There were some concerns expressed in the phase one that somehow the importer got to know through the SSO ID where the actually the bill of entry is being assessed. That's again an area of concern if if the focus is on anonymity per se. So again, these are all new topics, and right now even I would not have a ready-made answer to that. We can all think aloud and work together. With these observations, I would leave the floor open for all the panelists, and just like to thank BCBA to giving me the opportunity to put across my department's view on this very important development which is taking place. And the world is watching, not only India, the whole trading world is observing us, how we would succeed. And it's of utmost importance in in improving India's ranking in ease of doing business. And we are all equal stakeholders in this process. So I just like to wish all of you the very best. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for enlightening us about, in your speech, about I'm looking forward at what we are looking at within 2 months, the Pan India implementation. Thank you for explaining about why this implementation is all about, and discussion with the member customs, I mean, about challenges and suggestions in the pilot process that we are in right now. Surely, BCBA along with its members will put forward all the issues, queries, and suggestions that we have as well, and work, as you rightly said. We are all in partners here in this in the whole process. Before I can have Sri Joshua sir speak, I would have Mr. Dushyant Mulani to kindly introduce Sri Joshua Ebenezer sir. And also, just one point of information that our session is also live on YouTube. So we have shared the link. You can please ask your friends to join. This is a very important topic here that we are going on with. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dushyant sir, over to you.
Thank you, Vinayak sir. I think you have covered the entire thing, the entire critical assessment of the Faceless Turan project. Very aptly put forward. You have touched each and every micro nuance of the entire program. And sir, I know that you acceded to our request at a very, very short time. And all of us from BCBA are highly obliged with your this gesture of attending this and briefing us on this webinar. So, before I go to Joshua, with your time constraint which you had conveyed, there were just one or two points which we thought we could put across to you. One was pertaining to what you rightly mentioned regarding tracking of the bill of entries. And second was regarding the time-wise format within which the bill of entry can be completed, because in our Q&A there are some questions which have been posed where people have had experiences at Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi and Mundra, and they found that the bill of entry used to go to other locations. There used to be some amount of delay because this is a new evolving program. So can there be some time-wise accountability? Because so far this has been introduced at seaports, but once it starts at air cargo complexes, Delhi it had started in air cargo complex, and it was observed that bill of entry used to go to ICD Gadi Asalu, and there it used to take considerable time. So, what would be the mechanism and rehearsal besides approaching the custom officer that trade would have? Can it be driven through system that we can have a time-wise accountability built up somewhere with your good experience? If you can just guide us, sir.
Yeah, okay. So as you rightly said, this is one of the major concerns, and which I also mentioned from the experience in the phase one. And this was also discussed yesterday with the member CUS. In fact, when CUS has been, the board has been receiving feedbacks from the trade, from the various custom house associations as well. So one of the, the ways to address it, I would not call it a solution because, as I said, it will be too premature to say these are solutions. I would say one of the ways discussed is for real-time monitoring, and each port has a system administrator. On the dashboard, there is a provision of monitoring the bills of entry. That is one. And also, we have formed a WhatsApp group of all the concerned the ports which are right now involved in the faceless assessment. So all the commissioners and additional commissioners and even ACDCs are part of that. So many a time on that group, like I have seen, like just before the seminar started, just looking at that WhatsApp group. The Delhi commissioner has put in a request to some other port where their bill of entry has gone, that it has been pending for considerable time. And also with regard to that, the query has been fed, and that has to be addressed. So there is a real-time monitoring at the senior level. Now, a formal mechanism is yet to be put in place for, the resolving of the concern. But I'm sure these are still early days, and the placement, the time lag would be at par with the bills of entry which are at port assessment group. Now, as I said, some of the queries are system generated. Some queries are on account of the officer not being well versed with that particular. Also compounded with that is the challenge that right now we are working on a roster system. So the officers keep changing, unlike earlier, a same group. Because of COVID situation right now, we are forced to work on a roster system. So the officers are lesser in number. That's another challenge that we are facing. But nonetheless, the dwell time is being monitored both at the port as well as at the port and the level. So I think as far as the dwell time is concerned, this is at the top of the priority of the department, and it would be some kind of formal mechanism would be put in place. One of the ways discussed was it that if the bill of entry is not assessed within a certain stipulated time, it will be pulled back by the original port. This was one of the suggestions, that it should automatically go back to the port of import in the event that it is taking time. Likewise, we welcome more suggestions which can be formalized in sense that they can form the SOP as far as faceless assessment is concerned at the moment. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I think very vital inputs that you've given, and the effort which has been put by CBIC behind this entire project to improve the country's rank in ease of doing business. This will, I'm sure, this will have a very positive effect once the initial teething troubles stabilize. Two main suggestions that we have given, even from our All India Federation to CBIC just about a week ago, and that has been active help of e-Sanchit in this, because we have found that officers also sometimes were unable to utilize e-Sanchit in its optimum manner. So that will reduce the queries quite a lot. Building up this time-wise accountability with having a dashboard in the IceGate portal itself about uh, the bill of entry, so that one is able to see the pendency levels, and system can decide where to divert the bill of entries thereafter. So may have that usage of artificial intelligence also within the system. And most importantly, sir, having one nodal officer at all locations, where the trade can go across and give their points. That was something suggested, and which you yourself have already covered in your address. Sir. Thank you. So with this, I introduce Mr. Joshua Ebenzer. Joshua has been a long-standing friend of CB fraternity. He himself had started his career as with a forwarder and a custom broker with a multinational firm, and thereafter he himself graduated as a advocate. He was with a very eminent law firm, Messrs. Lakshmi Kumar and Sridharan, and everybody knows that in indirect taxation today, Lakshmi Kumar and Sridharan had one of the highest success rate as far as the indirect tax cases were concerned. Joshua has been expert in indirect taxation, international transfer pricing, SVB, and other related issues. Now, Joshua is settled in Chennai. He is working on his own consulting firm, and with a vast experience of more than 25 years. He knows the industry in and out. The entire nitty-gritties of clearance process, laws, and practicalities are known by Joshua. So I need not waste any time further. Joshua, floor is yours, and you can continue in that high note what Vinayak sir has already addressed the gathering. Thank you. Thank you, Joshua. Joshua, over to you.
Thank you, Dushant. Thank you, every BCBA committee members, Secretary, President, and the Honorable Commissioner of Customs, Vinayak sir. Thank you for your nice speech to start this afternoon. And thank you all the friends joined across the country. Welcome all the custom brokers this evening. So my intention of appearing before you and to share some of my perspectives, not that you are not aware, you have seen tracking Turant Customs, you have read all the 30 plus inputs coming from the government side, and you are gearing up and you're moving forward. Still, I thought I can just add some of the heads up in the following 4 categories. An overview of faceless assessment, well covered by Vinayak sir, and the government, how they are approaching the trade and what are the process being adopted. Probably we can just see, because I've been asked by the association to give an overview on that as well, because not many of us are familiar with certain process, the flow. And then we will also see the gaps, what the broker community thinking, or from their perspective, these are gaps, and how do we mitigate with our recommended suggestion, and we will close it. So this is my flow. So I would like to use a presentation. So probably I will share my screen if I get the rights. Till such time I will. All right. Dr. Nirav, could you please help me to put the screen up?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Joshua, you should be able to share your screen as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I don't see the option screen sharing here.
Right in the middle, screen share. It will be right at the bottom center of Zoom.
I know that, but it's not showing up here. Okay, can you see my screen? Something?
Yes, white.
Yeah, white screen right now.
Okay, it's clear. All right.
No, it's not showing any. It's just a plain white screen as of now.
Usually there is an option called screen sharing that is not seen here. All right. So can I forward the presentation to you? Will you be able to flash it?
Yes, sure.
So I'm sending it to Tej right now. Tej, please go ahead and share the screen. In the meanwhile, I'll keep speaking on that.
Okay.
Yeah, sent. All right. So the first and foremost thing which I wanted to, like Vinayak sir said, it's a paradigm shift. It's a 180-degree turn. There was a statement which I read in the circular, which reads like this. I'm just reading that extract of that. It says, faceless is a complete departure from existing manner of customs assessment. There is a need to introduce the changes in face, which would give the trade and stakeholder, including customs officer, time to adopt to the changed scenario without disruption of work. Now, all of us have agreed. Vinayak sir rightly put it out, we need to unlearn. We need to unlearn. Definitely we need to unlearn. But definitely we should also keep this perspective in our mind. Most of us in this forum may be thinking, because of COVID, government brought out a lot of initiatives, but it is not like that. The new normal, what we are experiencing, it is not only the custom brokerage, it is not only customs. In fact, you go to the judicial side, even from the courts, they are unable to move ahead. 10% of the cases are getting disposed. So there is a new normal started from the personal hearing. Schools have moved into a online mode. Business today, you and me supposed to sit in a hall and talking on this subject, but today we are talking on Zoom. Customs has moved in because of their internal file processing. They have moved in with technology. Banks have moved in. In fact, wedding and funeral, everything is moved out from the normal course. This is unprecedented, and we never even thought about it that we will be embracing this change so quickly. So, question may arise: are these a design or by default that we need to embrace it? Now, for those people who aren't very familiar, I heard people saying customs is going in a fast track and it is very difficult for someone to cope up. Customs is going in an amazing fast. By the time that we could comprehend what they are bringing out, we are lost. The new initiative has taken place. So ever since that we signed a trade facilitation agreement, we have a global obligation to complete around 24 articles before 2022 February. Of course, that keeps the customs on toe. There are initiatives. Tej, can you just move to slide number 5? There are initiatives taken place. You know, in 2018, there is a typo error. Please forgive me for that. In 2018, we were on 146. In 2019, we were all boasting how we moved from 146 to 80 in the World Bank indicator for ease of doing business. And 66 ranks jumping for a country in 1 year is not something very easy. So 17, we signed a TFA, 18, 19, the way in which the department working definitely proves that this much efforts have gone in. And the next dream is that we need to be on top 50. So government is working on it. There are announcements came out from the customs side that we are in DPD, we are in revised AEO, DGFT inquiry online, compliance, now out of charge and gate pass. It just keeps coming every 15 days, 20 days, new initiatives. That too, after April 15th, tremendously, we are seeing all this mission-based assessment system, how it is working. Fine. Whether trade is tracking this or you're not tracking, whether you're coping with this or you're not coping, whether you are able to disseminate this after digesting this information or not, it doesn't matter. Things are moving. Either you need to run or you need to drop off. We are in the same phase. Next slide, Tej.
Joshua, I have given you the remote control. So if you want to control it yourself, you can as well.
So how do I opt it? Better you just move to the next slide, please. All right. So if this be the case, how are we talking in the new normal? Now today, if you look at the practical scenario, let's take Vinayak sir said, very interestingly, when EDA came, he was a deputation officer. He said, everyone said, it's going to be changing. EDA is going to take away my job. We are going to leave. You know, there are a lot of commotion, a lot of agitations took place. But today, it has not happened in the way in which that we assumed or predicted. Things have settled down. So today, when Faceless and all this kind of a technology are coming in, one thing is very inevitable. There are times in Tamil, in South India, they say 50% is you and 50% is your attire, which means today, like you see Mr. Karnakar Shetty, the way that he's matured, the appearance, or the way, what perfume that you put, what brand shirt that you put, which car that you travel, what watch you put, the way that you go and stand before an officer, it creates a brownie point, and your behavior definitely adds a value to your assessment, your engagement, your trust with an officer. Nobody can deny that. Today, we are missing that 50% ambience presence. In fact, if you see an advocate, prominent advocate standing in front of a court, his voice modulation also contributes to his argument. It is not only the point what he is bringing to the court, the way he stands before and the way he pleases the Lord, everything is being observed and directly or indirectly contributing to a result. Now, we have been used with this kind of a result. You go and stand before a commissioner, the way in which that you hold your hands, the way in which that you show your reverence to him matters a lot. There are times somebody are behaving arrogant. Obviously, the reciprocation also seen by way of different hurdles. So nobody can deny that. But today, today, the 50% approach, what we learned and inherited, is no more there. We are now moving into an era where only to speak through data points, only to talk with the data, only to talk with our submissions. So it calls for wisdom. Our new normal, next slide, Tej. Our new normal is moving to embrace the significant transformation which is introduced over the period of time, with the help of an owner of a company like Dushyant, contributed some of his assessments, some of his clearances. Now we are depending on certain executives, maybe a graduate who does the data entry. So your data entry is the trigger point for any FAG officer to decide who you are. Of course, a group of people will be suffering. People like trading community, they will never be able to interact with an officer. Of course, there is a setback. But if you see, customs has not moved or changed in India as well as in global on their core 3 pillars. What are they? In terms of assessment, that is HS codes, in terms of valuation, in terms of defining the origin of goods, it is constant and it is same. But in terms of facilitating the process and procedures, they have brought in whatever I have flashed on the screen. I'm sure I don't need to explain everything. I can only focus on Turant Customs today because that is our focus. Okay. So these are the objective that they had in mind, that they will be reducing the turnaround time, reducing the transaction cost. Basically, for everyone in this floor needs to understand in a very simple way, trading across border is meaningless for the global community. You want to ask a question, you ask prior to you filing by way of doing advance ruling. You want to handle any matter, do it after the clearance by way of a post-clearance audit. When you have such a strong pre and post mechanism in your hand, where is the question of holding somebody's goods in the name of a process which eventually adding to the transaction cost, which eventually adding to the turnaround time, which increasing the logistics cost for the country. Okay, next slide, please. So today the focus is Turant Customs. So how meticulously this Turant Customs planned from the department side? They said there is a parallel, it's not a sequential approach, it's a parallel approach. There is a faceless approach, there is a paperless approach, and there is a contactless approach. All these 3 put together forms a Turant Customs. Now, faceless is what today we are talking about. Does that mean paperless is not in place? Does that mean contactless option is not in place? Of course, yes. Electronic submission, even the 2018 regulation has changed. E-scan, digital signature, PDF, QR code, invoice, bill of entry copies, and the gate passes are coming in. Web-based registration given for importers. Without even waiting for CCV, they are assessing they're giving the out of charge without even you paying the duty amount. So all these things added together, the online VC interaction is also started. Okay, TSK dedicated docs verification center, and even a single point contact. So Turant Customs is not something that they wanted to achieve faceless, because today, if you see the paper this month or this week, Turant Customs, faceless is the talk of the town. You go, the most searched word for this week is faceless customs, faceless assessment. Why? Because Direct Tax brought faceless assessment. They brought a national center under which they have 4 buckets. So one team will do the assessment, and technical team is there, a verification team is also there, a review team is also there. So under section 246A, they got the power, they have done it. So we also, next slide please, we also have the same power inherited from section 47 proviso, as well as from circular 5 and circular 15 respectively. So we got a legal backing for what we are doing here. The primary thing, I'm sure in 2019, the circular, everybody would have read it, and the following circular amendments, PN instructions, everything, I'm sure 100% of the people sitting in this floor definitely would have laid your hands on that. Okay. If my objective is changed to a speedy clearance and transparency decision making, and all that extra words which Vinayak sir said, that we are working on certain lacuna which we have highlighted with a member, I am sure this dust will settle. No one can in this floor can say that by way of we saying to customs they are going to change the process, by way of we rebelling or we are agitating against something, we will be the loser. So the process is set. We were expecting the year end, but it is going to be preponed in October, which means in 60 days, it's going to be all India. If that be the case, how much prudently that we need to go forward. Next slide, please. Yeah, we'll go to this slide. I wanted you to provoke your thought. Now, the entire customs activity, traditionally what we know, can be divided into two parts in trading across border. One, we call it as levy and collection, that is the assessment. And the second part is the release of goods. Okay. Now, the whole focus today is going to be on the levy and collection. So I am an officer. I shifted my responsibility of assessment to the trade. You do the self-assessment, I will do the verification. Not today, in 2011, when self-assessment introduced. Of course, later, after 5 years, we got the legal backing for self-assessment in section 17. Now today, self-assessment is not something, an unknown word for us. Okay. So, which means every time since 2011, when there is a seminar conducted by customs, there was an emphasis given based on the revised Toyota Convention, standards 3.5 in chapter 7. They said data quality is eminent. Every time when there was a good technical session, I enjoyed doing many sessions with Mr. Rahman in those days and all. He came and said, please focus on your nomenclature. Please focus on the rates, what you are declaring. Please focus on serial number, model number, UQC. I don't know how many people took this very seriously and reworked on it. I don't know how many people have done the reverse analysis of how many queries that you are getting per importer and how you try to overcome that in the past. We don't know. Now, today, the concern is not for the entire community. 100% of the files are being sent in electronic mode. At least 80%, including AU operators, are getting cleared in the facilitated mode, which means RMS system is approving your assessment. And there you can go and pay either deferred duty or you pay the duty and you clear it. Okay, there is no question. There are 20%. Always I use our rule of 80-20. So I'm using 20. It may not be exactly 20%. It may go here and there. So the lesser part of the transactions are hitting into assessment area. That is what the bills of entries that we have been assessing in the group all the while. Now, only that portion, the person sitting in Navasheva is assume that because of COVID is not sitting in Navasheva, is sitting in Chennai. He is sitting in a remote location. He is sitting in an unknown location. He has got that assessment disseminated to him by CAS. Now, our commotion, like Dushan Bhai, he is representing all of you. He said, sir, I have one request to make. What came in his mouth, first statement he made, there should be an accountability from the officer side on account of delay. Now, question may arise, if this delay is uncontrollable for whatsoever reason, because it's pilot project, how that it concerns a broker? Because the entire broker community already got hurt unexpectedly. Their thin margin got shrunk into amazing, unbelievable levels because of the LD clause invoked against them. Because of there are a lot of SOPs where they haven't agreed, a lot of commitments which they gave to their importers, all the detention and demurrages were debited on them. They, from COVID-1 till now, there are still disputed issues are still going on. Matters are pending in courts. So here, to make some revenue, customs is making a lot of efforts. To get some revenue, the custom broker community today making a lot of efforts. But there is another service provider. We can name them as shipping line. We can name them as ICD, CWC, or CFS, or port for that matter. They are not contributing anything simply by keeping quiet of my two indifferences, giving them lakhs and lakhs of money. That is not acceptable. Neither the importer nor the custom broker taking 5%, 1%. It is someone else. They say either you pay or you go to court. There is no other way. Under the protest, people are making the payment. This is what bothering the community to tell the customs was, please have some accountability. Please have a dashboard, because we can't afford to have embrace a system and again slip into trading across border, there is one more day delay because that's going to cost me. So if this be the case, this cause and effect, we have seen why this kind of a cry coming out from us. I have personally seen the representations made by the association, FFA, Bombay Customs Agency, to the chairman, to the Minister of State Finance, to all the members, directors. I've read that letter. So the expression which is coming out is only on account of how do we absolve any liabilities coming against us because of this new procedure? How do we protect our financial losses to us? That's the only thing that they are trying to ask. Next slide, please. So in this scenario, we are now seeing this new words. This was unknown to us, right? NAC, FAG, TSK, POI, PAG, NC. I'm sure some of you are familiarized with all these words. Some of you are still learning. You are getting confused on these words. Fine. Let's see how this works. Let's see how this NAC is going to be. The NAC, next slide. NAC will be put into place very soon. Their fundamental mandate is to examine the assessment practice. Have you ever heard this? How the uniformity of assessment is not being followed. How one officer's individual perspective determines an assessment. How it is not based on what we want. It is based on individual interpretation. And their whole focus is to see how do we bring this uniformity in the diverse country. It is one way appreciable. Globally, this is what's happening. You go to US, you go to European Union, we have a standard. We can expect in 29 member countries, you travel from left to right. If there is one BTI decisions are there, it will be binding the other states, other member countries. Obviously, you can definitely go and set up a business, and then you can say that here, I have a BTI, and I will be using the same thing in this state. Nobody can say no to it. But in India, if you import in one country, in one state, a clearance, that there is no guarantee for you to follow the same thing in the other state, which everybody knows about it. So this national committee, National Assessment Commissionerate is going to be set up. Probably these nodal officers will offshoot from there. We don't know how this is going to emerge. It will come inside. Okay, next slide, please. The faceless assessment groups, as usual, it consists of an AO, superintendent, DC, and AC. What do they do? The same job. Verification. I verify your document. If it is a bona fide, I will pass it through. If it is a malafide, I will invoke 111. I will invoke 124. That's it. Whether you accept it, there ends the matter. You don't accept, I will issue a speaking order. Very interesting here. I will issue a speaking order. Now, in paper, in 2011, when I read this, I will issue a speaking order, I personally would have sent dozens of letters. I have not got speaking orders. I'm sure everybody in your side as well went and wrote letters after letters, letters after letters. Case was not disposed. Officer got transferred. We haven't got speaking order because the officers are too occupied in their routines. Now, today, they are saying that we will be issuing a speaking order. Before issuance of speaking order within 15 days, we will also give you an opportunity to speak to me through video conferencing. It looks so nice. It looks so nice. Here it plays a role. Before issuance of a show cause notice, before issuance of a query memo, if an officer meets you, every dynamics change. Everything's have changed. The way that you put a poker face and sit before an officer, probably his heart will melt, and custom brokers are known for it. One word from your mouth will melt that officer. Today there is no room. Your voice pitch will be flat in the video. Today I'm talking to you. You don't see my face. You are not able to see my emotions. You are not able to see my body language. My eye contact is gone. So it is not going to help to communicate some information which I put across earlier in the document. There should be an extraordinary way to improvise my data quality to come out from this challenge. Okay, so we will have, it's too early for, as Mr. Vinayak said, it's too early for us to judge how customs is going to come out, because they are thinking how to build a strong, robust system. I'm sure they'll find some ways to address this part as well, though it seems to be impossible now, but it might come into play in the coming days. So we'll wait and see. Next slide, please. Port assessment group. Okay, so now I have an officer here sitting, the same officer currently located in the CFS Port ICD will do the job. Their job description has been described saying that in which are the circumstances they will lay hands on the bill, a non-FHE bill of entry by customs automated system assigned to them, and a FAG bill of entry to the port of import with specific instruction from the FAG officer, which means they will be handling both sides. It's not only the FAG, even the non-FAG bills will be handled with specific instruction from FAG. Okay, so it's like any other officer putting a small note for order and sending it to the docs officer. So they are now doing it in the system. That's all. So we can expect there is a transparent level of documents moving from one level to another level. There are times, if you go and see the responsibilities of the FAG officer also, if they are not able to determine, if they are not able to take a decision on or before a particular time for an assessment, obviously they can send it back to the port of import. Obviously, they can take permission from the above officer, whoever the ACDC commissioner they are reporting to them, and they will have to justify why they are sending it, and they will have to send it with a note, and then the regional office will take over. In case of specific intelligence received, any time the principal commissioner or the chief commissioner can pull any bill from FAG and take it into regional side. That is also possible. All right. Now we have TSK. This is a dedicated cell. They have a defined responsibilities, and they does everything. Almost I counted around 9 activities, which is day in and day out that officers are able to perform there in the port of import. License debiting, defacing permits, and related to accepting bond and bank guarantees. Even FAG gives a provisional assessment, even then that they are going to do that. If all this kind of a Kendra will take care of all this particular thing. So these are 3 things that you need. Anybody who is not very familiar, under the Turant Seva, under the Faceless scheme, these 3 words, the 3 department you need to keep in mind: FAG, PAG, Port Assessment Group, Faceless Assessment Group, and TSK. All right. Now, I'm showing some important strategic input for you to think about it. This is immaterial for your transaction, but it is important for your tactical decision, how it works. You see, the nodal officer, currently the principal commissioner, it has been defined in the how the air cargo officer, how the 1 and 2 in Chennai for 84, 85. The 7 officers were designated there as called the nodal officer. They check the uniformity on classification, valuation, and any exemption extended. Plus, if there are any import policy conditions laid down by DGFT for restriction or for prohibition. And also they consider any new international practices which is there. This is an important highlight for you, which means they can adapt, they can recommend, and they can implement. And these are the 4 things which they will be doing it. They are currently also doing it. The new thing is this nodal officer will also interact with you to get inputs, which means with the sectoral trade and the industry and the association, they are going to interact with you and they are going to receive inputs on an ongoing basis. This is an opportunity for every custom broker to go and address matters to your nodal officer. The second point, they will resolve any queries relating to assessment, which means sometime back I saw a comment saying the bill of entry assessed without any opportunity on an arbitrarily enhancing that value. The bill of entry assessed based on PD clearance. The bill of entry sent back, it is queried repeatedly. 100% you now have an option to take that facts and to go and sit before them and explain to the nodal officer saying that this is having. And the last line will be attractive for them. To function, the nodal officers will function as a hub for knowledge and repository. It calls for wisdom for every broker to think the other side is changing drastically. Importer side, they are changing drastically. We are talking about 3 people. We are in the middle. I am facilitating importers with the help of custom broker. I am being authorized by customs to handle this facilitation work. Now, in between, I am there. Customs is completely enhancing their capabilities in every sense. You may be knowing in post-clearance audit, any findings which the post-clearance audit gets from the trade, be it theme-based or premises-based or transaction-based, that need to be communicated to RMS. then RMS division will try to incorporate such algorithm into the system to filter such occurrence happening, which means there is a constant in a constant improvement process in RMS think tank is continuously happening with the help of post-clearance audit. We get a notice, but the feedback is going, that has been analyzed. If that be the case, nodal officers over and above interacting with the trade and collecting information, it is exactly, you may recall in 2018, we got something known as customs audit regulation. There is a criteria for theme-based auditors to determine the theme, like this automobile parts which got into dispute, whether to classify under 8708 or on a specific heading. How did they found out? With the 2 Supreme Court judgment which came in, and they picked it up. They thought IGST they can levy high by putting it under 80 as part of 8708 using the chapter note 16 to ABC. Now, how this was existing in the tariff for so many years, the judgment was existing, but these people started reading, taking notes, going and discussing, and brought this evidences. So, which means there is a team in post-clearance audit actively working and doing this work. Now, over and above, now nodal officer also interested to do this kind of a thing and to feed information. Their DRA is giving information to post-clearance audit. Ministry of Home Affairs giving information to post-clearance audit. CBI is giving information, exchange of information between ED, direct tax and indirect tax is happening. So, which means in everywhere, information flows are moving from one side to another side. Why? To curtail anything which is revenue leak anywhere, they wanted to curtail it and to bring it into a compliance regime. Okay. So what it calls for wisdom, when my nodal officer is doing like this, when my post-clearance auditors are doing like this, what am I doing? Am I engaged day in and day out only in filing bill of entries and clearing my shipments and finishing my invoice? Or am I also putting efforts to equalize my positioning before these officers to serve my importers and exporters better? It's a question that every custom brokers, members, every employees who work for a custom broker needs to ask yourself. Next slide. Procedures. Now, procedure, it's something known to all of you, but still, just to reiterate, there isn't much change. I file a bill of entry under section 46. I must make sure I upload all e-Sanchit documents legibly, because I was interacting with an officer. He says, I had to put a query because that e-Sanchit invoice which is coming in or the supporting documents which is coming in, there is a document, but I am not able to read. So just make sure that you have a control to upload the right information. Okay. Now, RMS approval is there. Okay, so let's talk about FAG, procedure made. So RMS is approving, which we have already described to you. Again, reiterating the same thing. There is no problem. If there is a non-RMS, CAS will assign to FAG. Okay, RMS, everybody knows. CAS is Customs Automated System, will assign to Faceless Assessment Group. Now, the officer can return the bill after its verification, and you go ahead based on the declaration what you made. Or the officer can ask for additional documents for verification through IceGate portal. Now, what information he is asking you, it should be genuine. It can be ingenuine as well. So importer on behalf of, custom broker on behalf of importer responding to his queries. My request here is, please keep a track of in a month, how many queries that you are responding at what stage for what documents. This query management process to be inbuilt into your custom broker system for sure. Your job should be like in manufacturing industry, they say 0 accident month or 0 accident year, no wastage, or they define certain PPM. Now we need to declare 0 query filing. How do we ensure that? When you put more than one person, a person has 2 I. If you put one more person, an approving authority, it becomes 4 I. If you also put one more person, because most of the people are not going out, so you can put some experienced person to look into certain criterias based on the queries which you have received. How do I ensure that repeated query doesn't come here? Is it because of my insufficient document uploaded in eSanchit? Is it because that my MSDS was not right or relevant? Or If I have uploaded everything to the best of my ability, still the queries are coming. Then you take it to the nodal officer and approach them. If it is not, then you try to control. What will happen? Eventually, you will be able to increase the facilitation. Currently, if you assume 80% of your filings are getting facilitated, so you can move the bar to 90% and above. Is it not a good news for you? Please put a process and try to handle at this stage itself. All right, next slide. The queries are sent, importer agrees, then he will be doing it, which I've already described to you. It is only coming in a process way. If you don't agree, they will issue a speaking order 17.5 and then 124 will be issued, depends on it. But okay, this is just a process. On request of your importer, in the olden days, we go to an officer, we say, sir, it's FOC shipment, give me first check. Same thing you can also ask. If it is a 49, if there is a delay that you're thinking, you can seek the officer for a 49 permission, immediately it will be granted and you can take it forward directly. So all those provisions, what you are enjoying are already there. If you're if an officer, the second last point, if he's not able to complete the work within a stipulated time, Dushan Bhai was saying, automatically it should be assessed. But here what they are saying in the process, if I am not able to complete the assessment because back and forth communications are happening or pending test result or samples are not forwarded or whatever be the reason, I will take approval from my supervisor commissioner and I will send this bill back to PHE. Okay, that's it. I'm sending it back to the docs and the docs officer will have approval authority on top of that assessment. Any point of time, if there is an intelligence, PC can pull this from FAG to PHE. So next slide, please. Okay, this is something which we need to wait. Please read 51 of 2000 subordinate regulation 51 of 2020 non-tariff issued on 5/6/20, and they say through any qualified mechanism. So find out what mechanism custom has. Are they agreeing to do a call with you through a WhatsApp video, or do they agree to do a Zoom video, or only they say you have to come through this particular Microsoft team, or court started accepting it. They are saying, okay, you have Zoom, you come on Zoom, you have this, you come on Zoom. Find out from that circular and have a discussion with the concerned officer to set up this thing, because this will definitely required for you to express your concern before you could pass a speaking order. It's an opportunity. Once upon a time, your importers cannot come all the way from Delhi, Gujarat, traveling. So this is a very good move, in fact, to take a decision, because earlier the officer faced a problem. For him to write a speaking order, he need facts, he need information. To search for a custom broker, he may not be available there. By the time he will get other work, so it get missed out. Now he will ask all the pertinent questions to the custom broker or to the importer, and he will have every facts, so he can complete the speaking order. So there is a possibility on the positive side, he can dispose any matters which he is not approving it, where you are not agreeing to it. This will work to our advantage. Next slide, please. Appellate procedure. Okay, so this is a very important. We are not going to talk about the recent ITC judgment impact, which everybody knows about it. Even otherwise also, how you should understand that the Commissioner of Appeals having jurisdiction on the port of import. So which means if I file a bill is assessed in Chennai, 84th chapter, and speaking order issued. So you can go and appeal in your port of import. Suppose if you are from Navashiva, you can go and appeal it from the port of import. There is a small difference between appellate procedure and the review. The review happens the otherwise. Next slide, please. The review proceeding happens the other way. If there is a speaking order on reassessment passed by an officer in FAG, the admin control for that particular review proceeding will lie with the FAG jurisdiction officer. So under the subsection 2 of 12090. Okay, so these two things you should keep in mind. If you're going for a review, you need to go to that remote location. If you're doing an appeal, you should do it in the port of import. Next slide, please. Demand notice under section 28. Okay, that's the section 28 is a very favorite subject for every custom broker, day in and day out that we are doing it. How we mitigate the voluntary payment of duty, how that has been treated, how instructions are there, and how that has been not followed. So maybe we'll have to wait and see how things are moving. So section 28 proceedings will take place if there are some demand notice to be issued by customs. So we don't need to talk about 28 more right now. So which is self-explanatory, but the provision is there. The nodal officer will communicate with the POA. That's a good thing. So the bridge is the nodal officer. So there is no, just like that people don't bother you. The clarification which they record, that inputs will be communicated to the POI wherever required. So, which means it is not one officer taking a decision. There is a transparent way of why the demand is raised, why his views are expressed. Those things are there in the record for the nodal officer to see, and the nodal commissionerate will further coordinate with the port of import. Next slide, please. PD assessment. Section 18 assessment is continuously happening. You can ask for it or they can also do it. FAG may assess the bill of entry under PD. I've already explained to you, bond and bank guarantee can be issued at TSK at the port of import. Any delay happens because of test report or of any FSA testing, something is not coming, FAG can return the bill of entry to the port operating group with reasons. Such bill of entry would be with port assessment group. That's it. So PD assessment process is not something new to you. So we can move forward. This is very good. All of you never heard about this. For amendment, I need to pay fees. So they have enabled levy of fees, customs documents, regulation 1970 has been enabled. Okay, so whenever that you seek an amendment after fulfilling section 149 criteria, there should be a document in existence. If you are able to fulfill those criteria to prove that you are genuinely, legitimately need to get an amendment, then you can file 149 or even 154, both can be filed. But if it is a 149, probably you need to ask for them to get the challan, and the challan, whatever the fees, that will be included in the duty challan. So your importer should be aware about it, and then they will be making the payment. Okay. So what it's saying in a nutshell, any exchange of information between officers are not going to happen through any note for order file. Everything is going to happen only through the system, and even their internal communication exchanges, everything in electronic mode. Okay. So whatever the document that you are submitting today, maybe after 6 months or 1 year, nobody will be able to retrieve it. It is gone. So you can resubmit it with a different document. So now you pay more attention what you're submitting, because that submission also matters when there is an investigation invoked on a later date, or FAG can access that document of similar goods or identical goods whenever they require. So it is there in the system, which you need to keep in mind. Next. Okay. This is just an old axiom, I'm putting it. If we chase 2 rabbits, both will escape. Now, the broker needs to now take a call. What am I going to do? How am I going to handle? How am I going to embrace this? Next slide, please. My third-party dues, is it a big perennial problem for me? The answer is yes. Even today, that's the problem. So how do you handle third-party dues? There are many ways. Some importers, some exporters are really frustrated with the way in which things are working. Some of them could able to sneak and to get some good deals, and they could able to get away. Some of them have no clue about. Recently, I was just talking to someone who came to India. I don't know who said this. Who came to India? Their first shipment, 4 containers. They spent 65 lakhs. 65 lakhs for no good reason. Even the entire project consultancy company is taking only 4.5 lakhs. And here the goods held for no good reason, and they paid, and they moved out of our country after this thing that they re-exported or something had happened. So the third parties are making money. So how well that you can protect your liabilities arising on these lines by way of a contract. Today you may have a friend. Tomorrow importers may not talk to you. They will say, their legal department will send a notice. You have signed an agreement with me. You are obligated to do it. Else, you need to communicate this back to me. And then comes data quality. Okay, the first one also, it's a commercial transaction. I'm sure you are in a better position to handle. But this is something, a matter of real concern. How are we going to mitigate? Today, I was talking to somebody and they said, we are going to change the process by putting the entire blame on the importer. How? They have to approve the checklist. Hello. Merely an importer approving the checklist you cannot shun your responsibilities. Why do we go back to that old culture? Importer needs to approve the checklist, so I am safe. In spite of importer approving the checklist, you have been party to so many show cause notice. You had to fight for the cases. You said, sir, there is an email which was not taken into consideration by the adjudication officer. You say, no, he says, how do I believe? It could be a fabricated email. These things are not a very sound document for you to rely upon. And instead, why don't you think in that way? You change your course, you raise your bar. When the whole world, see today, you deal with customs and you deal with PGS. PGS means participating government agencies. Okay. Now, all of us are not handling all 98 chapters. All of us are not handling with all 33 PGS. We may handle 5%, 10% of the chapters and 5%, 10% of the PGS. Wherever that you are handling, like how customs is specializing, why don't you also have specialization? You have office across the country. Make one virtual SME in every location. Ask him to read, ask him to keep a tab very closely what is happening. By the time, see, RMS is getting themselves updated on fingertips. Government is updated. Importers are also updated. Consultants are also updated because they are putting their time and money in reading. And they know before somebody could know. Today, TFA Article 1 says that any procedures to be published, it will happen. There is a website which is going to get released very soon to the trade. Now, every information will come, but how as a broker that I and my team, we are not expecting all your 100 staff to do. Select one person, make him responsible for that particular sector. He should be a master. He should be at par with that particular nodal officer. Ask him to go and interact with that nodal officer. Ask him to speak and to raise his bar from a traditional transaction person to a partner of an importer, which means what pain an importer will face, this SME needs to feel that pain. It is not, if there is a problem, I will wash my hands. No, we need to now, we are now giving value proposition. We are partnering with our importer. So how do we walk with them as if that you are an importer? How will you handle that matter if it is your consignment? You will not say that I have a checklist approval. No, we have to raise our bar. So which means there should be a discipline of, I know some of your people having regular, everyday 1 hour, 2 hour of reading habits developed within the community, which I know of. Some of the people are doing. I am sure this is the way forward for you. Your traveling time every day is reduced. Where are you investing the traveling time? Just by going to Navashva, coming back, consumes minimum 3 hours, 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours. Coming from home, that traveling time is reduced for some people. Those people must lay hands on these kind of information. And this point is very valid. Is there another slide, page? No, next slide. All right. This slide is very, very important. Am I only checking CBIC website or Tax India online website? If there are new jurisprudences developing within my country, or even Mr. Vinayak was saying, if there is an audit objection happening in one port, the FAG is not aware. We are trying to build a mechanism to get those information shared. Likewise, if there is a SESTAT in a particular location giving a judgment, are we keeping a track of that? Are we reading all those informations? HS committees are giving their decisions. Other jurisprudence like cross rulings, HMRC, EU, BTI, BVI, BOI, are we keeping a track? Now, your obligation in CBLR is that you should be informing your importers what they need to do. It is not vice versa. If that be the case, you please think that no, you are no more a transaction people. You are beyond that. You are beyond the transaction people, which means you should now start beyond tactical to strategically. You need to go and tell today, MWOWR has come, 2019, the new consolidated regulation. SEZ is going for a revision. Importers are importing. Our full-time job is to clear the shipment and to do the billing. Have you ever thought about, is there a better benefit for my importers by moving this into a private bonded warehouse 58 and 65? Where if you take this goods, multi-products can be handled after the amendment in 2019 December. Now SEZ, you no need to take the same goods and you can do manufacturing in SEZ. Are we keeping a track and suggesting our companies, why don't you consider this? In FTWZ, if you do a manufacturing activity, they are considering even the value addition cost for calculating NFE, whereas In this side, on a private bonded warehouse, they are only calculating the debonded into the DTA goods value, which means there is a disparity between FTWZ and this. There is an advantage here. Have you thought about it? So Rule 53 need to be removed. You can advocate for it. Why do we need NFE? Or you need to promote this. Now schemes are there for months together, for days together. Excuse me. For months together, for days together, we have not read it. We have not thought about it. Same goes with Safe Framework AEO, same goes with MRA. Now, these are the times that we are moving in to capture the hearts of every importer by you providing this forehand information. Today, why we are not able to say except Bangalore, except in certain locations. Everybody are not an expert on everything. Today's format restrictions, FTA mapping, Section 28 DA has been amended. How many times that we went to importer and said that you can't have COO clearances, it will move into PD unless you follow these things. The proper officer has a right. So it is a vast opportunity available for the brokerage community. It is to raise our bar to the occasion, and customs will raise their bar. We are, remember, we are a developing nation, and we are implementing this 24 articles under the cabinet secretary, because all know National Committee for Trade Facilitation is empowered under Article 24. There are some members who are present in this forum is also part of that, and how that advancement is taking place. We are obligated before 2022 to implement this, which means we are coming to a stage and telling, though based on GDP, we may be considered as a developing nation, but in front of trading across border, in front of World Bank ranking on ease of doing business, I am at par with Singapore. I am at par with a developed country. When we are moving, obviously our reputation of custom brokers also to move in that way. We are more than custom brokers. We are the people need to propel. We are the people compel the importers to change and to embrace this change management and to move ahead. So, ladies and gentlemen, and all the respected members, my submission to you are read across from your own mouth. You can read across this. Our society, our community cannot achieve greatness unless individual companies, individual peoples at many levels of ability accept the need for high standards. Sorry, please go ahead. For high standards of performance and strive to achieve those standards within the limits possible for them. So what Gardner says is really true for the occasion. If you don't embrace it now, it is either or. Either you pull up your shoes and run along, or you will be left behind, and there won't be any savior for you to look for tomorrow, because the world is moving at a fast pace which you and me cannot even imagine. Thank you for this opportunity to all the members for your patience in listening to me. And thank you for BCBA steering committee members and all the secretary, chairman, everyone. Maybe if there are some queries, if you have, you can put it across to the association and they will compile everything. And surely we will find some answers, because I am not talking that you are the best. I'm not talking customs is the best. We are all inventing, neither they nor we. We are all inventing together to see a good place of living. And that days are not very far, and we will be achieving that. And we will all live, and we will all live together and reach great heights. Thank you so much.
Wow. Friends, I think I must request everyone to give a big applaud to Joshua. Every time we are a part of his session, we get energized. Don't you think so? If you do, then please say yes in the chat box.
Oh my God.
Keep the chat box on fire. There we go. 5, 7, great energy. Yes, yes, yes. There we go. That's the kind of action that we're looking for. So thank you very much, Joshua. Amazing session. Just to give just a few takeaways from the session. Speedy clearance. What Faceless is going to do for us? Speedy clearance, transparency, I think all of us at some point of time, at least all through my, I'm a fourth generation broker. So every time we always heard that we want things to move faster. And with Faceless, we should see that. Another great benefit to our country, and we must compliment the customs administration for that, is to have these proposals built in to make ease of doing business a better reality. A few points which are extremely relevant and just a takeaway for everybody, and something that I just saw recently this week. So the revised Kyoto Convention Standards 3.7 speak about data quality. Just to share, I saw a bill of entry just probably on Monday or Tuesday, which said the name of a product and into brackets said not a popular brand. So guys, that is exactly what we don't want to happen. Accountability is something that is going to be not only from the department's perspective, but it is also from our perspective. What we must realize, and this is a humble appeal to all brokers. What happens is that we are domain oriented, we are knowledgeable, we study, we read, but how much do we pass on and how much do we empower our next line? The course of brokerage, the course of business is moving from the office, moving from the field to the office. If you don't take note of proper data quality, if you don't ensure that you have a proper submission, you will end up spending a lot more effort trying to fix that problem. Just before the session started, we had a very interesting conversation between Shetty sir and Joshua. And identity is something that we all have come to have. Can you imagine under Faceless, we will not have an identity. It is our data quality that we submit which will have an identity. All through training, we have always taught that when you submit a paper to the assessing officer, let's say you submit it in Xerox, it is folded, it is not in a folder, it is not neatly punched. That is one submission. Another submission is very crisp, clean, 120 GSM paper, printed, typed, stapled at the appropriate place. A proper submission will always speak for itself. Under Faceless, we will not get an opportunity to go individually to speak. We will not go get to transact face to face. It is our work that will, or our data quality, which will transact one another. In summary, and I really appreciate and I thank Joshua planting the seed, and he's always done that. Every session that at least I have attended, and I've had a chance to attend probably close to 10 sessions and have individual discussions. In summary, invest. Invest in this domain like you've never had before. Let's understand that what we have learned for the last decades have to be forgotten. And then we have to relearn what is the new normal or the new way of functioning. I have said this before, but I will risk repeating it again. I used to be a professional athlete. And what I learned from my teacher, if you learn a stroke, so I played tennis. Now, if you learn a stroke, and it takes 2,500 swings to get into your muscle memory. Even if I close my eye, my muscles will react. Why? Because that is what I have learned. However, if you learn a stroke wrong, to correct that stroke or to forget that stroke, it will take you 3 times. So 7,500 swings to forget and another 2,500 to learn. Therefore, invest time, invest money in educating oneself, your teams and your offices. In closing, what is very important is the department as well as us as trade will benefit by ensuring faceless and social distancing. And we have to think of it in a way where we save ourselves. If we invest in ourselves today, you will have a better or a brighter future tomorrow. If not, as Joshua sir said, you will have to look for other avenues. Thank you very much, Joshua sir, once again.
You're most welcome.
Let's move on to question and answers. The chat was buzzing with yeses, and we have a lot of question and answers buzzing. So before that, we have Rama sir who wants to ask us a question.
Tej, sorry, with the
one minute. Before that, Tej, I think Mr. Vinayak Azad has called me because he is having some urgent meeting with the Chief Commissioner with regard to yesterday's meeting only. So he has left this. So if anybody is having any questions, because now Vinayak sir is not here, we will take it and will write to CBIC or concerned commissioner in that matter. Okay, this is for just information.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So shall we move on to question and answers?
Yeah, Tej. Thank you. So, sir, there were questions put forward by the attendees, and I would like to put this forward to the panelists. Since Vinayak sir, as you said, is not here, maybe I'll just put forward the highlights of the questions which were posed, and the association can take it forward with the department further, and we can have this further informed to the members. I'll just read out a few questions which were there. So one was about in case there is a bill of entry which is filed and it goes unattended by the Faceless team, what is the further course of action? How will it be processed further? Will it be routed back to the importing port or no? So this was one of the questions. Further, the second one, a process and guidelines in case of any value evidence or information is requested by the department, or maybe a part or the whole of a shipment. In such a case, how will the document submission will happen? It will happen at the importing port, or submitted online, e-sunset option or no? Another very important point raised was
I think
yes,
because these questions already explained by Vinayak Azad sir and also Mr. Joshua also. So if Joshua sir can answer this so one by one, so we will resolve it. So he has already mentioned in his presentation, but for the questions he will again repeat.
Yeah, the first question is the Faceless group, as they have a team and there is a monitoring system also by the nodal officer. So it will not go unattended, but if you think it is unattended, the commissioner, that the POI can pull this back. If you go and say that this bill is pending for more time and it is not attended, you already have a right to pull this back. They can also send it. Assume that that location that is completely CAS is assigned to Chennai and Chennai is completely flooded. Now what do we do? Automatically, they will get rerouted. So how CAS is assigning the criteria is not known to me. Maybe Vinayak sir can say. But if it is unattended over the period of time, then you can go to your nodal officer or you can go back to your own POI and ask them, my bill is not attended. No, neither a query nor assist. What do I do? You can pull it back.
So we have a very interesting question that has been raised by Mr. Vijay Bansal. It says, sir, will this faceless assessment lower the business of a custom broker in India? Can you please elaborate? Joshua sir, request your
thoughts. The question is very subjective. Okay, so for some of people who are handling manufacturing goods may not say this way. So some of the people who are handling trading business, all of you are very familiar how things works here. Of course, for those people, there will be an impediment. So that is one of the objective for implementing this thing, because there is a revenue leak which was observed and there is a report, confidential report has gone into it. So probably yes, business for custom broker will grow or not grow is not based on Faceless, because that is depends on your commercial engagement and your service levels.
Yeah. Thank you, Joshua sir. One more question. It's about those bill of entries, for example, which are being submitted and recalled on reassessed for basically the value, the group practice, or as per the value, for example, the flat rate, which has to be loaded accordingly. Now, how will that process be in the Faceless clearance? And, also, how could there could be an ensurement that this clearance process does not get delayed in these kind of processes where it has to be recalled. Will that be addressed by you, Joshua, sir?
See, there are two aspects. If my bill of entry, without my knowledge, the value is added and sent back, I don't need to pay duty. I have a reason to send a query back to them saying that I can't accept this, because the moment he adds a value is equal to it's not verification, it is reassessment. So he has invoked reassessment. When he has invoked reassessment, obviously he need to give a justification to dispose that reassessment by way of 17.5. So that is what speaking order. So it will not delay. For the sake of clearance, you clear it, and port of import, you protest it and you pay the duty and you clear the thing. Or if you have the bandwidth to fight, you fight there itself. I won't clear it. It's a live matter, and you take it to the POI commissioner and you ask for a speaking order. So the nodal officer will communicate to the FAG and they will issue a speaking order and priority. Because an officer will be dare to do that is only because when he is confident, when he has internal instruction which you are not privy to it. There is a DRI note or there is an internal standing order which says that the value to be enhanced from this to this. Otherwise, he won't normally do that, right? Otherwise, he'll simply put a query and he will ask you. So in such case, that this is the only way that it's available for us.
Okay. Joshua, that point was clear. Actually, what I was trying to pose this question from what the member has posed is, there is a requirement for, the value has to be loaded from the side of the importer. Basically, if the value in the invoice is quoted, if the value on the invoice is less, and suppose as per flat rate, the value has to be loaded for the the assessment. In that case, the bill of entry, which is probably passed to the RMS, has to be recalled and reassessed. So currently that process has to be carried out at the customs of recalling and reassessing. In the same situation in Faceless, what is the process going to be like? Is it going to be different? And if it is that recall and reassess generally takes a longer period of time, so is it going to be time consuming as well, or there could be some speeding option as well?
See, practically, I do not know, but the way in which the information which I have read, I can come to one conclusion. If an officer is convinced to enhance that value, he can do it at his end. Okay. Or he can send the bill back to his team in POI with an internal comment. Kindly check. For example, LME price says like this instruction says like this, ask for further documents, and then you decide. So he can cascade that responsibility to the port of import also. So such disputed things will be delayed for 1 or 2 days. It will be delayed. It also depends on me. Okay, I know the person, if TVS is importing, I know this is the person, I'll enhance and they'll pay the thing. I can do it. I don't know who's this person, a new name. So probably I don't want to waste your time. I can directly send the bill back to him without assessment also. It's possible. So FAG will not hold anything on their thing, saying eternally. They will either assess or they will raise a query and they will move forward, because there is a queuing system also there for them, which you read that public notice, which says very clearly, it's FIO. So what comes first, it will be only that AEOs and other things will take a precedent. Like for example, you take a FOC shipment, it's gone. So you can request for a first check. So they will give a first check. So who will give a first check? So in the system, when you request, the POI will give a first check. So that is possible. When a goods are imported, if you want to suddenly, there is no document available, or there is a value to be increased, you want to talk to your importer, there is a demurrage detention which you need to say, there is a section 49 approval to be taken. So you ask for it, immediately that will be granted. So those things and all, they have not shunned away with. So it is not something that they have gone to Mars. They're also here, and it is possible.
Okay.
That's what the reading gives me a feel.
Definitely.
You should be able to say.
In the pilot process as well, I mean, when these points will be noted further, and as you're rightly saying, there is already a process in place. This is definitely going to help in having the speedy process. But yes, in the pilot process, we can put forward certain questions which can, make this simplified.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tej, we have some paucity of time. So is there any other question, or else we can have Parishji done?
One additional information which I thought I can give it to you, since you said paucity of time, I want all the members, just a request, all the members lay hands on post-clearance module manual issued by customs. It is available in website. You just go and Google PCA manual available in customs. For those members who are not aware about what is post-clearance audit, please read Circular 45 of 2018 and non-tariff notification 45 of 2018 and 2 of 2019 circular, which will tell you about what is post-clearance audit, along with Trade Facilitation Agreement Article 7.5. Okay, so this is about post-clearance audit. Now, what I want you to see is, being a broker, how do we enhance our capability? There are 3 types of audits there: theme-based, transaction-based. You and me cannot do anything. Can you foresee what kind of a theme that they are going to come? You and me cannot do anything. So leave aside. There is one audit called premises-based audit. Who are vulnerable? Those people who have AEO tier 1 and tier 2 are vulnerable. So at least 3,000 people in the country are vulnerable for post-clearance audit premises-based. How do they initiate that process is defined there meticulously. If you have not experienced audit, it is the best place to lay hands and to read and to execute few audits for yourself to equip yourself. There is something known as desk review. There are defined checklist, valuation, classification. There are 11 questions asked. If you take that question and you apply to your completed transaction as if that you are an auditor, in your office you have a team, you cleared 30 shipments, you apply these criteria for those 30 shipments, you will come to know whether it is passing or it is not passing. You don't need customs. You will tell you will be able to determine, yes, this cannot get through. Then take that feedback and go to importer and say, I am not coming in here. I have a document which is an authenticated document called post-clearance audit manual. And there is a checklist. And here this is my office finding. So you have to improve. Otherwise, tomorrow the wrath of post-clearances audit on you. Importers will appreciate. This is how we can improve the data quality, what Tej pointed out. It is not something that you are deploying one more person by putting one more salary and he will also do the same thing. That is not a constructive way of increasing the data quality. The constructive way is to learn from the process, and by which your confidence level is so high and you can tell your importer, you will be saved from the post-clearance audit if they come to your premises, because you have already done the mock audit. That opportunity is available. So that I forgot to inform you. Maybe you could take note of it. And on this regard, if you have any question, probably you can route it through the association or you can reach out to me. I will surely help you to disseminate this information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joshua sir. We now hand over to Paresh Bhai to go give a vote of thanks, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, President, for allowing me to give vote of thanks. It's a great occasion for giving vote of thanks. On behalf of BCBA, I would like to thank Sri Vinayak Azad ji, Commissioner of Customs Air Cargo, for firstly accepting the invitation on such a short notice. It's really appreciated. Thank you very much, sir. And also guiding our members and giving the insight of how the actual faceless clearance will take place. So thank you, Vinayak Azad sir, once again. I'd also like to thank Sri Joshua Ebenzer, who has been more of like a family for BCBA and its members. Thank you, Joshua sir, for guiding our members and giving the overview and also precautions which needs to be taken during the faceless regime. So thank you once again, Joshua sir.
Welcome, sir. Thank you for accepting me as your family member.
You have been, sir. It's like a family. With you, it has always been like a family affair. Thank you once again, sir. I'd also like to thank Board of Advisors, seniors, and my beloved President and the Managing Committee members for organizing such a wonderful and informative seminar. I'm sure the members would have definitely benefited from this. And we look forward for organizing such more seminars. I would also like to thank our members for participating in this seminar in such a large number. Without y'all, this wouldn't have been possible. It's because of your support And it's because of your encouragement that keeps us thriving. So thank you, members, once again for attending the important seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua sir.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you all. Good evening.
Joshua, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Dushyant.
Thank you.
Bye.